Hello, this is Patient X Files, where the rare becomes real. His heart was wrong. I never told anyone this before, but when I was 8 years old, I watched my best friend die in front of me. And the reason he died wasn't cancer, wasn't an accident, wasn't any of the things you'd expect. He died because no one could find his heart. Picture this. A small hospital in rural Montana, 1987. The snow is falling outside, and inside there's chaos. My friend Jake had collapsed during recess, clutching his chest, gasping for air. The paramedics rushed him in, and I followed because, well, 8-year-olds don't think about hospital rules. What I witnessed next would haunt me for decades. The lead doctor, Dr. Martinez, pressed his stethoscope to Jake's chest. His face went pale. He moved the instrument around frantically like he was searching for something lost. "I can't hear anything," he whispered to the nurse. "Check the equipment." The nurse checked. Everything was working perfectly. "Get me an EKG now," Dr. Martinez barked. They attached the electrodes to Jake's chest. The machine beeped once, twice, then fell silent. No heartbeat detected. But Jake was still breathing. His eyes were open, terrified, but he was alive. "This is impossible," the doctor muttered. "He's conscious, he's breathing, but according to every piece of equipment we have, this boy has no heart." I watched from the corner as they ran test after test. Each one came back the same. No cardiac activity detected. It was as if Jake's heart had simply vanished from his chest. 23 minutes later, Jake stopped breathing. 23 minutes of pure medical confusion. 23 minutes where a perfectly treatable heart attack went untreated because they were looking in all the wrong places. You see, Jake did have a heart. It was beating, it was working, it was desperately trying to pump blood through his 8-year-old body. But it wasn't where anyone expected to find it. Jake's heart was on the right side of his chest. This wasn't some medical miracle or supernatural occurrence. Jake had a condition called Situs Inversus, where some or all of your internal organs are positioned as mirror images of their normal locations. In Jake's case, his heart sat on the right side of his chest instead of the left. 1 in 10,000 people are born with this condition. 1 in 10,000. That means right now, as you're listening to this, there are approximately 800,000 people walking around the planet with their hearts on the wrong side. But here's what makes this story truly heartbreaking. Situs Inversus usually doesn't affect your health at all. People with this condition live completely normal lives. They run marathons, they have children, they grow old and die of perfectly ordinary causes. The only time Situs Inversus becomes dangerous is when medical professionals don't know about it. Jake could have lived, should have lived. If Dr. Martinez had thought to check the right side of Jake's chest, if he had considered that maybe, just maybe, this 8-year-old boy was part of that 1 in 10,000 statistic, Jake would have celebrated his 40th birthday last month. But medical school doesn't prepare you for the impossible. It prepares you for the common, the expected, the textbook cases. When faced with something that occurs in 0.01% of the population, even good doctors can freeze. After Jake's death, I became obsessed with medical anomalies. I read everything I could find about Situs Inversus, about people living with backwards organs, about the dozens of ways human anatomy can surprise us. I learned about Catherine O'Brien, a woman from Ireland who lived to be 93 years old without ever knowing her heart was on the wrong side. She only discovered it when she went in for routine gallbladder surgery at age 85, and the surgeon couldn't find her organs where they were supposed to be. I learned about Marcus Thompson, a professional swimmer who set 3 world records in the 1990s. His coach used to joke that Marcus had a swimmer's heart because it was so strong. What the coach didn't know was that Marcus's heart was literally positioned differently than everyone else's, sitting snugly on the right side of his chest, pumping with the efficiency of a perfectly calibrated machine. I learned about Rosa Martinez, a mother of 4 from Mexico City who went into labor with her first child and nearly died because the delivery team couldn't locate her major blood vessels. They were all mirrored, flipped, backwards from where medical training said they should be. But here's what really gets me. These people, these 1 in 10,000 miracles, they often don't even know they're different. They live their entire lives with backwards organs feeling perfectly normal until some medical emergency forces doctors to look inside. Imagine that. Imagine walking through your entire life carrying this incredible secret in your chest, this backwards heart beating away, and never knowing you're unique. There's something beautiful about that, isn't there? Something poetic about carrying your heart on the wrong side and not even realizing it makes you special. But there's something terrifying about it too. Because what happened to Jake happens more often than you'd think. Medical emergencies where precious minutes are wasted because doctors are looking in all the wrong places. Heart attacks misdiagnosed because the EKG leads are placed on the left side when the heart is beating on the right. Surgeries that go wrong because the surgeon makes the first incision expecting to find organs in their textbook locations. The medical community has gotten better since 1987. Much better. Modern hospitals now have protocols for dealing with anatomical variants. Medical students learn about Situs Inversus in their first year. Emergency rooms have improved their diagnostic procedures. But still, people slip through the cracks. In 2019, a 22-year-old college student named David Park collapsed during a basketball game in Seoul. The team doctor, following proper emergency protocols, immediately began CPR. But David's heart was on the right, and the compressions were happening on the left. For 8 crucial minutes, David's brain received no oxygen while everyone worked frantically to save him. David survived, but with permanent brain damage. He now requires round-the-clock care, all because his heart decided to grow on the wrong side of his chest. The cruel irony of Situs Inversus is that it's usually completely harmless. Your heart doesn't care which side of your chest it calls home. Your liver doesn't mind being on the right instead of the left. Your organs function perfectly well in their mirrored positions. It's only when the outside world interacts with your backwards anatomy that problems arise. It's only when someone else needs to find your heart that having it on the wrong side becomes a matter of life and death. I often think about Jake, about that terrified 8-year-old boy lying on the hospital bed while adults ran around him in confusion. I think about those 23 minutes when everyone was looking for his heart in all the wrong places, and I think about the person Jake might have become. Would he have been a doctor himself, inspired by his close call? Would he have married his high school sweetheart Sarah, whom he had a crush on even at 8 years old? Would he have children who inherited his backwards heart? These are questions that will never be answered because medical textbooks failed to prepare Dr. Martinez for the beautiful impossibility of a heart that chose to beat on the right side. But Jake's story didn't end in that Montana hospital in 1987. His story continued every time a medical student learned about Situs Inversus. Every time a doctor remembered to check both sides of a patient's chest. Every time someone like Catherine O'Brien or Marcus Thompson or Rosa Martinez received proper medical care despite their backwards organs. Jake's story lives on in the protocols that now exist to prevent what happened to him from happening to others. There's a medical term for what Jake had: Situs Inversus totalis, meaning all of his organs were mirrored. But there's another type called Situs Inversus partialis, where only some organs are flipped. These people are living patchworks of normal and backwards anatomy, walking contradictions of human development. And then there are people with a condition called heterotaxy, where organs are positioned randomly with no clear pattern. Their hearts might be in the center of their chest, their liver split between both sides, their intestines arranged in ways that defy anatomical logic. These aren't birth defects. They're not diseases, they're variations, like having blue eyes instead of brown, like being left-handed instead of right-handed. They're reminders that human bodies are not assembly line products, that each of us is a unique experiment in biological architecture. The human heart begins developing just 18 days after conception. 18 days. At that point, you're barely the size of a poppy seed, but already your heart is deciding which side of your chest to call home. Scientists still don't fully understand what causes some hearts to choose the right side instead of the left. There are theories about genetic mutations, about disrupted cellular signaling, about the complex dance of molecular instructions that guide embryonic development. But theories don't capture the wonder of it all. The wonder that you could be walking around right now with a backwards heart and not even know it. The wonder that your organs could be arranged like a mirror image of everyone else's, and you could live a completely normal life. The wonder that in a world where we think we have everything mapped out, cataloged, and understood, our own bodies can still surprise us. After Jake died, his parents donated his body to medical research. They wanted his backwards heart to teach future doctors to prevent other families from experiencing what they went through. Jake's heart now sits in a jar of formaldehyde at Johns Hopkins Medical School. Students examine it, hold it, marvel at its perfect construction and unusual placement. They learn that hearts don't always follow the rules. That medicine isn't about memorizing textbook diagrams, but about remaining open to the impossible. They learn Jake's story, and maybe, just maybe, the next time they encounter a patient whose heart beats on the wrong side, they'll remember the 8-year-old boy from Montana who died because no one thought to look in the right place. Maybe they'll save a life that Jake couldn't save. There's something profoundly human about having your heart on the wrong side. It's a metaphor that writes itself. The person whose emotions don't align with societal expectations, whose love points in unexpected directions, whose passions beat to a rhythm others can't understand. We talk about following our hearts, about hearts being in the right place, about hearts breaking and healing and growing. But what if your heart really is in the wrong place? What if the very organ that's supposed to guide you through life chose to set up shop on the opposite side of where everyone expects it to be? Maybe that makes you more human, not less. Maybe that makes you exactly who you're supposed to be. Jake would have turned 40 last month. I imagine him sometimes wonder what he'd think about the world we live in now, about the medical advances that have happened since 1987. I think he'd be amazed that doctors now routinely use ultrasounds and CT scans to map out a patient's anatomy before any major procedure. That emergency rooms have protocols specifically designed for people with situs inversus. I think he'd be proud that his backwards heart contributed to saving others. But mostly I think he'd want people to know that being different isn't something to be fixed or cured or ashamed of. Sometimes being different is just being human in the most beautiful way possible. Sometimes having your heart on the wrong side is exactly where it belongs. If you enjoyed this video, please support the channel, like, share, and subscribe.